World War II rages, and young men from the colonies are being drafted into war zones to risk their lives in a battle against fascism. The irony is not lost on colonial soldiers. Ceylon has begun to move to representative government, not self-government, but already the complexity has started fracturing the Ceylon National Congress, and others are starting to become more vocal about independence. What is building up as a low rumble is now a full-throated howl. This is the story of the women who shaped the independence of Ceylon. On a cool November morning in 1927, 4 British MPs arrive in the tropical island of Ceylon. For months, they walk among the locals and speak with the many factions. Their task is to draft a new constitution for the country that would meet the needs of every residential group on the island, interestingly, including British plantation owners. There are 3 Labour Party members who are all socialists with a more equitable vision of the world. Their chairman is Lord Donoughmore, and he presides over a commission that is to make recommendations for a new way of governing one of the empire's more troublesome little colonies. Donoughmore himself is a liberal peer, but a supporter of women's rights. They interview 140 people and hold 34 sessions. Not a single group could be ignored. Agnes de Silva would make sure of it. Agnes Nell is from an aristocratic burgher family. She has had a genteel upbringing in a liberal home, but her world is about to be turned upside down by a dashing young lawyer, George de Silva. George has fought against the injustices of the 1915 riots and champions the cause of the poor, many of whom had to perform compulsory labor for plantation owners. Agnes marries George, and together the handsome young couple fight for social reform. In 1925, 2 years before the commission, they sponsor an unsuccessful resolution for women's suffrage at the Ceylon National Congress, but they were not the first to be shot down by the CNC. Nearly 6 years before this, Dr. Nallamma Murugesu of Jaffna, a leading Tamil female physician, presented a case for women's right to vote to the Ceylon National Congress but has also been opposed. Agnes is undeterred. As soon as the Donoughmore Commission lands on Ceylonese soil, she hastily forms a delegation with her compatriots, calling themselves the Ceylon Women's Franchise Union. The very next month, the union request and are granted an audience at the commission. Their demand: right of franchise for all women regardless of class, caste, educational status or ethnicity. At the commission hearing, Lord Donoughmore peers over his glasses and asked Agnes if she wants Indian Tamil women labourers on the estates to have the vote. She replies in a calm and clear voice,
"Certainly. They are women too. We want all women to have the vote."
But there were dissenting voices. Sir Ponnambalam Ramanathan famously says, "Do not throw pearls before swine, for they turn and rend you. What suits European women will not suit us." The Donoughmore Commission makes a historic judgment. They agree to grant women over the age of 30 voting rights. Newspapers on the island are ablaze, and they call the resolution a win for the opportunistic women of the island. But Agnes doesn't think this is enough. She, along with her husband, make their way to England and manage to have the commission lower the age to 21. Remember, this was at a time when British suffragettes were still fighting to have the voting age lowered from 28. Finally, the committee's recommendation is ready to be rolled out to a waiting island. The Donoughmore Constitution is drafted to address the plural nature of Ceylon. It is based on the principle that no single ethnicity would dominate the political arena, and every seat in government would be overseen by executive committees of multi-ethnic parliamentarians. All decisions would require consensus from all ethnic groups. This was revolutionary but flawed. Whichever way it was sliced, minority voices and extremist ones would be diminished because of the large population of Sinhalese. The Donoughmore Constitution inflamed communal tensions on the island and especially irked the Tamils who believed the Sinhalese would use it to dominate local affairs. Also, it did not support party representation. The loudest and most influential voices on the committee could win. The constitution came into effect in Ceylon in 1931. It was the first time a non-white colony within the empire would have one person, one vote, and control over home affairs. It would be the starting gun for many colonies to follow, from Asia to the Caribbean. The constitution was vocally opposed by different groups for different reasons. The All Ceylon Tamil League oppose it on the principle that they would be outnumbered. Elites of all races are worried about mob rule by the lower classes. And to the north of Ceylon, a group of Jaffna youth oppose the commission for a different reason. The Jaffna province is rigid with caste and tradition. While Tamil political leaders butt heads over representation, the young radicals of Jaffna look into India, admiring their struggle for home rule based on a national identity or Swaraj. The Jaffna Youth Congress is formed. In the same year as the commission is fact-finding, Mahatma Gandhi visits Jaffna. He is followed by the other Indian freedom fighters who take the northern province by storm in a series of rousing speeches. The Jaffna Youth Congress calls for a complete boycott of the Donamo Commission, an abolition of caste and an adoption of Swaraj, the familiar bellow for independence and decentralized home rule based on a unified identity that had rung through India. With all its flaws, under its new experimental constitution, the country remains free from British meddling for a number of years and didn't have to check in with London for every tiny decision they took. So far, Ceylon has been inching towards independence, but a flower seller would speed things up. Each year, on Armistice Day, poppies would be sold all over the country to help British ex-servicemen of World War I. In 1931, an ex-Ceylonese serviceman called Elian Pereira forms his own committee to sell a local flower, the Surya Mala, to support Ceylonese veterans. He mostly sells his flowers to the peasantry and does not make even a quarter of what the poppy sellers do. The movement starts to quieten down until a resident British school teacher takes notice. Her name is Doreen Young. Her parents are ethical socialists and she is deeply committed to the anti-imperialist cause. She is also engaged to a charismatic southern Sri Lankan gentleman, a through and through Marxist. Hastily taking pen to paper, she writes a piece titled The Battle of the Flowers in the Ceylon Daily News, highlighting the absurdity of forcing Sri Lankan schoolchildren to buy poppies to support British veterans. Soon, the cause takes motion among the youth. Every year, November 11th is turned into a major red-letter day for anti-imperialism as flower sellers square off against each other and young minds gather to talk about getting imperialists out of their country. The state government, always ready to meet potential civil unrest with rules, imposes a new one. The Street Collections Regulation Ordinance is introduced, limiting street sales for charity. But they can't stop it now. Doreen Young becomes the first president of what will be known as the Surya Mal movement, which has stirred a whole new generation of Ceylonese to ask for outright independence. In what would start a lasting love affair between the youth of the country and Marxist ideals, Ceylon's first political party is formed in December 1935, the Lanka Sama Samaja Party, or LSSP. The LSSP brings socialists together, including those who have travelled and studied overseas. They are led by the charismatic young Leslie Gunawardena. Leslie is in love with a doe-eyed and defiant young woman named Vivian Gunatilaka, known to all as Vivi. While she was head girl at Muses College in Colombo, Vivi becomes deeply involved with the Surya Mal movement and even organizes her entire school to boycott the poppies, selling the local flowers to her schoolmates and teachers instead. This gets her noticed by the LSSP. She can organize people around a cause, and they recruit her. Leslie admires Vivi from a distance, but it will take a diplomatic incident for him to pluck up the courage to confess this to her. On a warm morning in April 1937, an Australian Marxist, Mark Anthony Bracegirdle, takes the stage at an estate worker meeting and agitates British planters, calling them out on their mistreatment of labour. This infuriates the planters. Soon, the governor serves him with a deportation order. The leadership of the LSSP are incensed. Prominent party leaders move for a vote of censure against the governor at the Legislative Council. Feeling public pressure, the vote is passed 34-7. On the very same day, a rally is convened by the LSSP on Gaulface Green, and the country's leading socialist lights are taking the stage and firing up the crowd. Suddenly, Bracegirdle appears on stage. The crowd goes into a roaring cheer. The police stand by, unable to arrest him. He is later arrested, but the full strength of the LSSP is called in and legal minds are put to work. He is released. Reversing the order of the governor is a major win for the anti-imperialist and more importantly for the socialist of Ceylon. The cracks in colonial rule are starting to widen. Later that evening, Vivi joins in on a celebration dinner with many party stalwarts, and Leslie declares his love for her in a secret note. But Vivi's father stands in their way. After all, Leslie was a revolutionary who was being kept under surveillance by the state. Vivi's father imprisons her in the family home. Leslie turns to the law again. He enlists an advocate to fight to free Vivi. He is successful in liberating her, and the courts grant them permission to marry. This advocate would later go on to be a Minister of Finance and even later the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. His name, J.R. Jayawardena. After the Bracegirdle affair, as it would come to be known, and the rise of a new generation of brave young men and women, the country is now brimming with optimism. A new feeling is sweeping over the nation, spurred by the successful organization and agitation of left-leaning parties. While the left wing was blooming on its own, conservative politics is also changing. By combining three right-leaning, pro-British Dominion parties from the majority Sinhalese representatives and the minority Tamil and Muslim groups, the United National Party, or UNP, is formed on the 6th of September 1946. Its founder is the youngest brother in the trio, D.S. Senanayake. DS left the Ceylon National Congress 3 years earlier. The CNC had accepted communists and began asking for full freedom from the British. And this was just too much for DS. Instead, the UNP seeks dominion status within the empire, which was supported by the business community and the newly emerging middle class who were greatly influenced by the West. But a parliamentary election is afoot, and a battle for the country's soul is about to take shape. Catch us next week on Patta History as we take the last leg in Ceylon's journey to independence. Make sure to like, subscribe and hit that bell button to get notified of new episodes.